Okay, this is going to be Devlog 2. It is Friday, April 4th, working on Rat Rumble stuff. Things have been kind of crazy busy, kind of crazy whatever. I'm going to show actually, I want to talk about, I'm going to pull up my website stuff a little bit so you guys can take a look at that because it kind of showcases some of the stuff I was planning on getting done and what did or didn't get done. And I think that's a good talking point. So let's go here. And then let's go here. Yeah, okay. So, big things. I was trying to just get the turret thing set up so you can throw out a turret and it shows up and it starts shooting rats. And this was like a nightmare for a while, but I did end up getting it working. I used some of the stuff that was already there. I had to rebuild a lot of stuff, but I got it all working. I had to kind of make a separate. So when I took the template game that I used, had this like enemy controller script, and it's like this parent thing that controls all the behavior stuff. So that ended up becoming the rat controller, and then I ended up making a parent class called the actor controller, and then made another subclass called the turret controller. And that was a big complicated thing for me to get done, and it was, I mean, like, I don't know, it's not complicated, but it was hard for me. Got it all done though, so I'm going to showcase like what it looks like to shoot a turret out really quick. So right now it's just based on like a little reload bar. It's not actually based on like how much scrap you have, which is something that I am working on soon. So again, the map here doesn't look really much different. But if I switch guns and I click, it shoots out a turret. Now obviously there's no cool animation to this or anything, but you'll notice specifically the turrets are landing on specific surfaces and not spawning on things like walls. So that's pretty nice. They show up. There's obviously going to be some things I need to work on with them. There's some bugs that I'm not going to point out right now, but I can spawn in turrets and I can kind of charge to shoot them farther a little bit. So now here's a ton of turrets shooting at us, which is kind of cool. And like you can see, obviously I'm using like a MacBook Pro, so you know performance is going to differ, but like this is pretty nice. We've got a dozen turrets and nothing's slowing down at all. So that's turrets. Pretty cool. There's some issues with like rats being able to damage them and things like that, or not being able to actually, but that's been pretty sweet. The code there was a little bit complicated, but I managed to work it out. And then going back to like goals though, that was it. That was the goal I had set for this week, and I like passed with flying colors. My hair is like a crazy mess right now. So that was good. Next thing was, I was like, well, I have these turrets now. I need to be able to get scrap. And there's these crates and stuff that are supposed to be destructible, so I want to be able to get scrap from different objects in the room that you can destroy and get scrap from. I think that's still what I want. I don't know. So there's this component of the world being destroyed, and like opening up extra paths by destroying obstacles is like, well, you have to destroy some stuff to get some scrap, but if you destroy too much stuff, the rats are going to get shortcuts towards you. So it's like a little bit of a give and take there that I think could be cool. And then you're building your turrets, and so I needed the crates. They were already destructible, but I needed to build like a class that was like destructible that could generate loot, which the loot thing was already happening with the rats, which you might have seen a little bit in that video. So I was like, well, I need to use the loot from the actor controller, but I don't want the detection stuff. So I ended up making a new parent class even above the actor controller called the base controller. The base controller does some like really base stuff, like if it falls out of the world, it's going to destroy it and despawn it. If it like is this kind of thing, it's going to track it or whatever. So really, really basic stuff. But also it takes care of the loot thing. If something has a loot, it can be dropped. And so now there's a destructible object subclass of the base class, and now there's loot. So they were able to drop loot. But that wasn't good enough either, because I wanted it to be, I could shoot a crate and a lot of scrap comes out. You know, you don't want just like one piece of scrap, you need like 25 or something. So you wanted to be more objects, so the possibility for more than one thing to be generated when you destroy an object. So I had to get into loot quantity, but then if it's just a quantity, it's all going to spawn in the same spot and be invisible basically. So I needed to make something so you could tell there's multiple. So I was thinking about like it explodes outwards and they all land in a sort of circle. So I added this like physics thing, and it's kind of funny. It's kind of Dungeon Defenders esque. But if we take a look at this, instead of like popping out and floating a little bit like most pickup items do in like every game ever, um, they pop out and they just sort of lay around the ground casually, which is very subverted of normal traditional stuff. Oh, I actually am getting some weird lag all of a sudden. Um, there's also like 50 rats in here right now. But so now these things generate those little bits. And then the next thing that I get to point out is the bits are, and that would be different if the rats weren't all over the place. The bits fly towards the player. So I made the like loot quantity and the loot velocity thing, and then I made a loot magnet. So if the player is near, it gets sucked into the player, and then the player absorbs the thing, and then they get the loot. So huge side quest with like the base component actor, and then the destructibles, and then the loot system being kind of updated to be kind of cooler and interesting. And I think it's just fun watching all this stuff scatter around. It's kind of like it reminds me of not only Dungeon Defenders where there's all the gems all over the floor, but Gungeon, where you kill something and it pops out a bunch of coins. Or also like Scott Pilgrim. It reminds me of you kill the guy and he drops like a bunch of pennies or whatever. So I kind of like that. It's kind of cool. All of that leads me to, well, those things popping out of the rat now, the rat just disappearing when it dies isn't super satisfying. So I wanted to make a ragdoll component. So I wanted it to be, you hit the rat, and then the rat, all the logic, all the scripting stuff dies. It all gets despawned. And then the rat gains a physics component, so it just flies off, and basically like it would ragdoll and die and then fade away after like 5 seconds. But now this is the crap that I've been dealing with today, is there's all of these assembly definitions and stuff, basically different files that different code exists in that like if you don't reference them directly, they're privatized. So like the AI and the UI things, if one of them isn't referencing the other, it can't use the other. So long story short, I'm having an obnoxiously hard time deleting components from the rat because they are part of these other assemblies, even though they're in the rat. Like I should be able to say delete these things because it's part of this game object. I don't know. So I was struggling with that, and then I had to revert a couple changes. Actually, I had to go back in my version control for the first time and do something new. But after that, things are working. I didn't get the ragdoll stuff working yet, but I have new plans of how I'm going to do it, at least I think. And then ironically, I totally forgot about the scrap stuff. Like I did all this stuff. Oh, I think I showed you. I think I talked over. Oh my god. I talked over the loot thing for sure. So let me show that. So if I go in here and I hit play, at least I think I did. I don't know. So I'll show off the loot, and then I'll show off the fact that the rats are not ragdolling, and yeah. So generally speaking, not a whole lot else here. You shoot a thing, there's a effect that's like broken right now, but then all the stuff sucks towards the player, which is kind of nice. Whoa, I think it's because I'm running OBS, but things are getting laggy. So yeah, just these big explosions. I'm gonna adjust some of the particle effects on these, but once you get closer, it's really fun to watch them roll. I think that's just super cool looking. But yeah, so that's where I'm at. We kind of like pushed way through some of the goals. We went way past like build the turret thing. Still need the scrap thing. I'm still working on that because I'm not super happy with that as a system in general of like, do you just run around destroying objects to get stuff? But also like, or can somehow the rats drop scrap too? Because you want to incentivize killing the rats, obviously, because it's the whole objective. But then if you want extra scrap, I guess you would destroy things around the environment. I don't know. I'm just kind of having a hard time with that because I have these two currencies. I have mutagen and scrap. And mutagen's supposed to be like these mutations and upgrades and power-ups, and scrap is supposed to be for building new things, new guns or new turrets or new tools. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll figure that out soon. But yeah, so that was kind of second week. And technically, I think I recorded the other video on like Monday. So it's only been like 4 days. So it's been super productive. But future goals, come up with a system I like for the scrap. It'd be nice. I don't know if I'll get this done, but it'd be nice if once a destructible object dies, it rebakes the nav mesh so that things know that they can walk there now. And it'd be nice to get the ragdoll thing on the rats. I'm trying to do just a little bit of polish. But then my next big focus should actually be having the rats spawn from a different point and having different rat types spawn as well. And then just playing with that for a while. So, and then also potentially the weapon that the player has sucks right now. It's just really not fun and it's just hard. So maybe that changes. I don't know. We'll check in with you in a week. So yeah, that's Devlog 2 of Rat Rumble. It's week 1 of April, so we got time, I think. Okay, see ya.